Hello, everybody. This is Reverend Dr. Red. As I said in an earlier video, I'm going to have quite a few series going. There's a series I'm going to have on Islam, Catholicism, different other denominations of Christianity. A series of videos on the OWS movement. And they're not necessarily going to be back-to-back videos, each of the series. So just pay attention to the titles of my videos, and that should be that giveaway of what series it's a part of. And I'll eventually get around to making playlists and putting all the videos of each of the series into a playlist. I think I've already started doing that with the Gen 21 and the Bible videos. I still got to make a playlist for the other series. But anyways, this video I'm hoping will be relatively short, because I seem to have this problem of going on rants and making over an hour long videos. I'm hoping this one's not going to come out to be that long. I am, however, going to do numerous videos on this particular topic of Islam. This video is going to be, I just want to touch base on real quick on whether or not Islam is really a religion of peace. It's not going to be the only video on that particular topic of Islam being a religion of peace. There will be other videos on that with other information. I will have a deliberately hour or longer video that I'm going to be planning on it being that long. Only because I'm going to compile a decent amount of information. And I want to get out there and facts on Islam, just to show that Islam is not a religion of peace. In many respects, Islam is not a religion at all. It's more of a political system. Anyways, everybody's suggesting that Islam is a religion of peace. Even the Muslims are saying it. There's quite a bit of mainstream Christians out there saying it. Now, I want everybody to know that Islam being a religion of peace was not said until George Bush. George W. Bush coined the phrase, Islam is a religion of peace. Never before that did you hear that said by anybody. And upon George W. Bush saying that, the Muslims around the world took that and started using that as an advertising point. Now I want to read to you a couple of things out of the Quran to show you that how what Muslims are supposed to believe and how they're supposed to act. In the Quran, in 48:29, it reads, Muhammad is God's apostle. Both who follow him are ruthless to the unbelievers, but merciful to one another. So Muslims are only allowed to be peaceful to each other. We have 9:29 of the Quran says, to fight those who do not believe in Allah, nor acknowledge the religion of truth. So they're calling Islam the religion, and to fight those who don't believe in Allah. 8:29, and fight them until there is no more persecution, and religions will be only for Allah. In other words, continue fighting them until there is no other religious type faith except for Islam. How can there be any persecution against Muslims if there is only Muslims? One sect of Islam. And if they all believe exactly the same thing, how can that, you understand? So they literally want world conquest. The only religion they want on this planet is Islam. Until that happens, they are to keep on fighting. And then we have 2:16. Fighting is prescribed for you. So as you can see, just a few verses from the Quran. There are plenty more. Just in those few verses, you can see that Muslims are supposed to be ruthless. They're supposed to be violent, and they're supposed to fight us. And that in no way, shape, or form suggests that they are a religion of peace. They are only peaceful to each other. It says it right in the Quran that they are only to stop fighting once there is nobody left to fight. Meaning they're all Muslims. Once there is nobody except for Muslim, that's when you ought to stop fighting. Because then and only then is there no more non-believers in Allah. If everybody believes in Allah, now there's no more fighting. Nobody can persecute against you. That's a religion of peace. And recently, the Grand Mufti of Islam, which is the second to the top in charge of all Islam. He's the one of the head guys. I don't even have a. He's the second to the top to go-to guy on Islam. In other words, all of Islam, he's kind of like our Pope, the Catholic Pope. Not our as in my Pope, because I'm not Catholic. But everybody in America knows what the Pope is. He's the head of the Catholic Church. All the Roman Catholic churches all over the planet respect the word of the Pope. Well, the same goes with the Grand Mufti in Islam. All the Muslims across the globe can respect the word of this person. He recently came out and said that all Christians are infidels. I wish I pulled up exactly what it said word for word. I don't have it in front of me. But he did say that all Christians are infidels. And he used verses right out of the Quran to back up the fact that he was suggesting that Christians are to be seen as infidels and all Christians must be wiped out. All Christians must be annihilated. That is what he said. And he used verses come right out of the Quran to back him up. So it's not like anybody can start suggesting, well, he's only speaking for his group of Muslims, or he wasn't, or people are taking what he said out of context. He said himself, the Christians are infidels, Christians must be wiped out, and he himself read verses from the Quran to back him up. The same verses up to this point in time, Muslim apologetics have been saying they're not important, they're null and void. They mean nothing. They're trying to hide those verses from the public. He used those verses, suggesting that they are correct. He used the more peaceful verses on the Christians that are the ones that are deemed null and void. The Muslims are told of the verses from the Quran that are ushering violence in the direction of the Christians are the ones that have to be followed. Christians will be wiped out. Christians are infidels. That's a religion of peace. He just called for an international attack on Christians. On all infidels, which is really the Christians and the Jews. But he made it real clear to include Christians under the title of infidel. and made it real clear that all infidels, Christians and Jews, are to be wiped out. Now, this is the same guy that our government, the American government, embraced as being all peaceful, bringing in the peace, ushering in peace. And this is the same guy. He just called for the elimination of Christians and Jews worldwide. But Islam is supposed to be a religion of peace. Islam is secular. Islam is peaceful. Islam is all loving. Then explain to me why one of the head guys of Islam just called for the global extinction, the global annihilation the global mass murder, the global genocide of Christians and Jews. Explain to me why someone who just, the head guy of Islam, can call for a worldwide Holocaust on Christians and Jews, how that makes Islam the religion of peace. I mean, everything that we have been told are elements of radical Islam, not the true Islam. The head guy of Islam himself said must be followed. That and the fact that you want to say radical this, radical that, radical Islam. To be radical is to go back to the root of something. So, to have radical Islam, that's the same thing as saying that is the root of Islam. And that is Islam. This is I'm trying to show the fallacies in Christianity and stop the division of Christianity and bring Christianity back to its root form, to true Christianity. Radical Islam is the roots of Islam, is true Islam. And I think that the Grand Mufti here of Islam pretty much clarified that that's exactly what it is. Because everything that's said to be radical Islam, okay, he said must be followed for all sects of Islam, all of Islam. This is what you're to do. Which just clarifies the fact that that is indeed radical Islam. That is indeed the roots of Islam. And that is indeed Islam. There is no such thing as moderate Islam. It is Islam to want the annihilation of the Christians and Jews. It is Islam to want the destruction of anything not Islamist. Anything that's not Islamic, they want destroyed. It is Islam to want a global caliphate. It is Islam that if you are not a Muslim, you are their enemy. They'll be your friend today, but tomorrow they're chopping your head off if you're not a Muslim. And that's just the way it is. That is Islam. The Grand Mufti himself proves that fact. And also the definition of radical proves that fact. If you're going to call the more destructive end of Islam to be radical Islam, you are admitting that is what Islam is. Because to be radical, that is to be the root. You're going to the root of something. So to be looking at something as radical Islam, you understand that that is the root of Islam. So if destruction, if suicide bombings, if mass murders of Christians and Jews, if the killing of entire families of Jews and Christians in the Mideast, if bombings of Christian establishments, if all this is radical Islam, you are saying that that is the root of Islam. That is what Islam is. And the Grand Mufti himself of Islam just stated the same thing. So to admit that that is what Islam is, that is Islam, how can you say that that is a religion of peace? How can you say that that is a religion at all? Because they believe in this paganistic God known as Allah, and that's what makes it a religion. The Qu'ran and the Hadith make up something known as the Sharia law, which is supposed to be the governance of their nations. It's a political institution. It's not a religion. Even less is it a religion of peace. How is that a religion of peace? Ladies and gentlemen, Islam is a great threat to humankind, not just to the West, but also to the East. It's a threat to humankind. Islam is not a religion of peace. Islam, as stated by Terry Jones, is of the devil. As I showed everybody in the video and the article and the podcast talking about how Islam relates to the Bible, Allah is Satan. Satan is Allah. If you want proof of this, go to ChristianMessiahMinistries.org and read the article, Islam in the Bible. Is the Antichrist a Muslim? Watch the video, Islam in the Bible, on my YouTube channel. I believe I have a podcast on that also. That my podcast can also be found at ChristianMessiahMinistries.org. And as I stated earlier, I'm going to have another video on whether or not Islam is a religion of peace with more in-depth information. I just wanted to get this little tidbit out there. Now, I'm not looking to start fights with anybody. That's not what I'm about. And I'm not going to blame the Muslims exactly for the way they are. Just like I said in my video on Catholicism, that I'm not blaming the Catholics for the way they are. I'm going to blame their spiritual leaders for the way they are. They've been brainwashed. My mission as a minister of Christ is to teach the truth. To show everyone the fallacies and the truths, and to gather all the lost, and to bring everybody back to God, and those that are with God already to help them grow spiritually. That's what I'm here for. I'm not here to start fights. I'm not here to start wars. Are you here to start a war with me? I'm not here to start a war with you. I guarantee you I'm going to get comments on this video from Muslims that are going to be rather profane and rather derogatory because they're trying to instigate a war with me. I'm not trying to instigate a war. I'm not trying to instigate a problem with anybody. I'm just here to show and explain the truths. If you would like to debate with me, fine. I've debated with plenty of Muslims. I've spoken with plenty of Muslims and with plenty of people who grew up in the Arab world and moved to America because of the fact that they converted to Christianity. They were scared to stay where they were on the fact that they had stayed there, they might be murdered for the fact that they are now Christians. And they explained to me about Islam and what Islam teaches and how you're supposed to be as a Muslim. And how they were to become a Christian. I mean, some of their stories are quite depressing. And you know, my beliefs aren't because I'm a biased, radical, extremist, fundamentalist Christian. I have my beliefs because I actually experienced a lot of this for myself. And I have met and spoken with many people who are Muslims, who grew up Muslims in the Arab world and converted to Christianity. And I have many friends who were once Muslims and now are Christians. And, you know, their stories of their lives as a Muslim, especially those who are Muslims born and raised in the Arab world, and what they had to endure as a Christian in the Arab world. You know, it's quite enlightening. And you really can't take their stories of what happens, what actually happens there, and just brush it off as that's false. That's not what you just can't. They were there. They experienced this firsthand. And to sit there and to be speaking with these people and to watch them literally break down in tears can get so... I mean, you just can't fake that emotion. The emotions they had and the anger and the upsetness that they had, just these emotions that they had over themselves, you just can't fake those emotions. I will try to get back in touch with a few of them that I know from back in New York and see if they'll be willing to do a video or a podcast with me. And I will ask a few others that I know, see if they will do a video or at least a podcast with me, you know, the local area that I'm in. And just to tell you their story themselves. And like I said, it is quite enlightening. And just from my own research and my own studies into Islam, and then on top of that, to hear their stories of what they had to endure, and not only as a Muslim, but especially upon converting to Christianity, and what exactly happened to them that led them into Christianity in the first place, and what they had to endure in the Arab world, is extremely enlightening as to what Islam really is. I mean, yes, you have all this going on out there in the world about, you know, some people are saying this and some people are saying this about what Islam is. You know, and very few will actually go and read the Quran. I've read the Quran. I've read news media done by Muslims as well as it's done by Christians, as well as those that were done by more secular nature. I've spoken to Muslims. I've had debates with Muslims. I've spoken to those that were Muslims from the Arab world as well as in the Western world. I've spoken to those that were Muslim and then convert to Christianity from the Western world, as well as those that have done so in the Arab world. As far as I'm concerned, There's no way about it. Islam is not a religion of peace. Islam is a threat not only to the Western civilization, but to all of mankind. I will have future videos going a little bit more in depth on the individual topics, and I will try to get a few of these people that I have spoken with, and a few of them that I am friends with, and see if they will do a video or at the most a podcast with me to get their stories of what happened to them and what they experienced themselves as a Muslim as well as a Christian in the Arab world, out to people. As soon as I can get one of them to do a video or at least a podcast with me, I'll get that broadcasted. If they won't do a video, if they won't do a podcast with me, I will do a video announcing the podcast, and we'll tell everybody where you can go to listen to the podcast. And as I said, I do have some articles with some more information at spiritualmessiahministries.org. I will have videos following this one on this particular topic, more in depth on the subtopics of whether or not Islam is a religion of peace. Thank you for watching. God bless.